and welcome back to TechEd 2021. My name is Orla Cullen, and I'm a Solution Manager in the Planning and Analytics team, and I'm absolutely delighted to be back here at TechEd. TechEd is my favourite event of the year. I've been going for many, many years to Las Vegas, to Barcelona, many other destinations. But this year is my very first year on the Channel 1 stage, so a little bit nervous, but lucky for me, I have Thomas Gressel with me, who was here last year. So welcome, Thomas.
No, it's great to be back here at TechEd 1 year later, and also again, like in Channel 1, totally excited and totally glad to have Orla on my side this year to guide you through a full hour of totally big programs. And yeah, there's a lot of things to come here, and like what I'm doing is normally community and developers, and there's nothing better than to be at TechEd, because like all the community members, all the developers, that's exactly the show for you. This is like why I'm so excited to drive you through together with Orla and the entire team. There's a lot of things going on, and I also want to shout out to the team in the back there who are working so hard to make this show happening. Great shout out to everybody to bring it together. Of course, community is a big topic, and over the last year, the community started to grow even bigger. It's one of the biggest enterprise communities SAP has, and there's many new faces popping up in the community, many new member integrations happening in the community, and that makes me really proud about like all the influence to see what we're getting from the community members. Of course, plenty of news today. If you watched Jürgen Müller's keynote, one news after next one after next one. So, of course, there is a lot of information to distill and to learn and to go deeper, and that's why we have the news guide. And so if you haven't checked it out yet, we will give you a short video to explain you a little bit more about the news guide.
Wow, there certainly is a lot coming in the next 48 hours, and we're only just at the beginning of it. But let's talk a little bit about this hour. So we've a lot coming up for you. It's absolutely jam-packed. We're going to start up with our very first expert, who was Wessel, who's going to come and talk to us a little bit about the learning offerings that we have here at SAP. We also have a brand new segment called the Student Sessions. I think Rui talked about it a little bit earlier on. But we have some amazing, bright, talented students across SAP, and I had the pleasure to meet with a couple of them to talk about their journey. Thomas Young is going to be jumping in to see what's going on in the chat. So with all these announcements, we're dying to hear what the SAP community has to say about all of that. And last but no means least, we'll have our very first remote check-in of the day, where we'll get a chance to see the audience and what they're doing, what they're watching. So really looking forward to the hour, lots coming up. But as Thomas did mention, there are a number of changes to the Channel 1 platform this year. We really wanted to make this as interactive as possible. So you may be watching this on different social channels, which is fantastic. But if you want to get in on the conversation, please go to the event platform and register. So you can engage in our chat, you can ask questions, you can vote up and down questions, and really get involved with all the sessions we have for you today. And it's super easy, right, Thomas?
It is super easy, and I want to show a few of the elements on the new TechEd platform or website to guide you through these elements and show you also how to use it. So the first one, if we can switch over to demo, which we have already perfect, is that we are on the TechEd website, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about, again, like where to find the sessions. There's the session catalog. And this allows you to go deeper by the tracks. You can go also what is coming up. I think a lot of folks are going by what's next, what can I check out. But also for the detailed lovers, and I'm a detailed lover, you can go to the product, you can select the product and go deep into the different sessions which are associated to the product. One thing also very important is recommendations. So if you're starting out with SAP or you're not completely sure where to go, what we have done this year, we also ask a few of the community members, the mentors and the champions, to give us their advice. They looked at the session catalog, and now you see their advices, for example, from Neil here. It's their background, so you see what they are doing, what they are learning normally, but then also their picks. And I think what I really like a lot here is it's not just pick this session, that session, that session. There's also like things for going deeper on why they picked it. And last but not least, if you're in channel 1, there is also the chat available, so chat and Q&A. So that's what Thomas Young will show us later on how to use it.
Excellent, yeah. And I think what's brilliant is the fact that not only can you ask questions, but as questions are being entered by other users, you can vote them up or vote them down. So we will have tablets here on the stage as we are interviewing your experts, and we can get those questions right to them. So make sure you get on that platform, you get asking your questions, and make sure that the most important ones are brought up to your end users. But like we said, it's super easy to use. We really want to hear from you during the next hour or so. But straight away, we're going to get talking to our very first expert of the day, who's going to talk about learning a little bit. So we saw that in the keynote, one of the key pillars that Jürgen did touch upon was how learning is super important. With that, Thomas, I think you're going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Yeah, so learning is not only something which happens here at TechEd. TechEd is, of course, the day or the 48 hours of the year where we go deep, where we introduce a lot of new topics to you. But the learning is happening before and is happening after, and that's really important. The upskilling, the reskilling, finding out how things are working, that's the stuff which you can do around the year. And I'm very happy to introduce you to Max Wessel. Max Wessel is the EVP and Chief Learning Officer at SAP. And very glad to have you, Max, here today joining us at Channel 1 at TechEd to guide us a little bit more through the announcement, because there was a lot of things happening in the last year at Learning. Hi, Max.
There were, and thanks, Thomas, and thanks, Orla, for having me. I'm super excited to be here to talk about everything that's coming from SAP Learning.
Yeah, so we had you on Channel 1. There was a picture before in the video about a year ago. That's exactly when you started out as a Chief Learning Officer. And so there's probably also a lot of learning for you in the first year. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your learnings and what you figured out needs to be done.
Well, it's crazy to believe that a year has gone by, and there's just been so much progress. I'm incredibly proud of the team and our community for really pushing us forward. But when it comes to learning, one of the biggest takeaways I have is just how large the change has been as to how we all learn in the ecosystem. The pandemic showed us that there was a new way of working, and the last 12 months have confirmed that that change was not temporary. There are 4 to 5 times as many people working from home, and people will go back to the office, but a lot of that will stay. And so our way of engaging people remotely fundamentally changes around how we learn, how we deliver content, et cetera. Because of the change in how businesses operate, about 25% more people will need to find new roles and new responsibilities moving forward, just because of this business model transformation that is constant. And all of this is compounded by the fact that digitization has created an unprecedented wave of change in how our businesses operated. And the WEF, the World Economic Forum, had estimated already before the pandemic that there was a need to reskill about 1 billion people over the next 10 years to take advantage of this. And so you combine all of that together and you have this massive tailwind for how we drive digital learning in today's environment.
These are really, really big numbers, like 1 billion learners like that we need, and the impact what it has on the skilling, reskilling. But I also know you're someone who wants to hear it from the people. So you went out, and what have you learned directly from the people who want to get upskilled, and what have you learned from the learners?
There is no way that we're going to upskill 1 billion people in the environment with using the methods of the past, and building the pathway into the future is all about listening. You're right. And so I'm very lucky. I get to spend time every month with learners across our ecosystem, whether those are individual developers, whether it's customers, whether it's partners, in small group sessions, in one-on-one conversations. And I always ask them around the importance of learning, the prevalence of how they learn, their chosen models, and frankly, what we can improve in order to make their path forward easier and simpler. And the good news is there's a ton of consistency. People in the SAP ecosystem desperately value what it is they get from a learning experience. They know that they can build professional opportunity and personal growth when the content is there for them. But there's also a steady drumbeat of feedback that is around just the prevalence and the amount of content around skilling, around business model transformation, around digitization of industries that's out there. And so we continue to hear, as we have these conversations, the opportunity in front of us is to drive a transformation for learners in the technology world that is around providing them a simple and straightforward path towards that skill transformation that's so critical for their professional growth.
Yeah, so that is definitely a bigger transformation, but maybe you can also look a little bit and explain what this transformation all is about.
For SAP, we haven't always made it as easy as it can be to learn. And we've had a variety of learning sites where people come and skill up, and we've had great content in a number of places, but it was really built in appreciation of each era that existed. And as we listened and we heard about this need to drive simple, kind of prescriptive guidance to make something that was truly digitally native, we actually challenged ourselves to take a blank sheet of paper approach, which has been wonderful. So our team sat down and said, what would digital learning look like for the SAP ecosystem if we made it a few things? If we made it simple to access, intuitive to navigate, and easy to engage with where learners were. And in doing that, we built the new learning.sap.com, the new SAP Learning site that Jürgen announced just an hour ago in the keynote. And the goal was to make it incredibly easy to upskill, to reskill, and to validate the SAP skills that everybody needs to flourish in our environment.
Perfect. And
I do have, Thomas, just one thing, because I sort of not a huge surprise, but I did want to bring a little bit of that vision as well. And so I don't know if I can, but if I can hijack the screen and run the video, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we want to do, is let's have a look into the video, what you guys put together.
Hey everyone at SAP TechEd, I'm excited to show you the new SAP Learning experience. I'm Stefan Ritter, and on behalf of hundreds of SAP Learning colleagues and team members who've been working incredibly hard behind the scenes, welcome to the new SAP Learning site. We've designed the site to be simple and intuitive to use, so our learners can reach their learning goals quickly. We're going to start by enabling developers to upskill on the SAP Business Technology platform. So come on, let's take a look. If you're like me, you start by searching the internet for what you want to learn. Our goal is to make all learning journeys and content easy to find. So here, I'm going to look for the SAP Extension Suite Learning. Clicking on the search results takes me right into the learning journey experience. The new learning journeys on the SAP Learning site are open to everyone. You don't even need to register, simply start learning. Learning content is tailored for people interested in development at various skill levels, so you can find the right learning content for you. The learning journeys deliver everything you need in one location to help you prepare for free and achieve an SAP certification in SAP BTP. Lessons are presented in bite-sized interactive sections that you can do at your own pace, wherever and whenever works for you. With embedded videos, downloadable images, interactive content, and code snippets, you can gain the latest knowledge and build the skills you need. You can even get hands-on experience in pre-configured simulated SAP systems, with exercises to enable you to practice and build real system skills. The courses include many examples and code snippets to help you expand and deepen your knowledge. These are reusable, so you can copy them and apply them in your own SAP system. You can test your knowledge by doing the quick quiz at the end of every unit. Log on to submit your answers and track your progress. You can always continue where you left off. Once you've completed the units, you can book the corresponding certification exam right from the site. No need to search anywhere else. The new SAP Learning site will be your one-stop shop to learn new skills, stay current with the latest SAP innovations, exchange ideas with the community, and get certified. And you will also be able to access the portfolio of well-established learning offerings like SAP Learning Hub or OpenSAP. Please check out the new SAP Learning site for yourself and let us know what you think. We will be adding more content and new features and functions on an ongoing basis. So come visit us often to see what's new.
Well, this looks amazing. It looks like any developer or future developer, regardless of skill level, could get started here.
That is absolutely the goal. It is, frankly, never been easier than it has been for the last, we'll call it now 1 hour and 10 minutes to get started with SAP, whether you're a student exploring our ecosystem for the first time, whether you're a professional who's been exposed to SAP technology and want to learn more, or whether you're a seasoned consultant that's looking to polish up those skills and drive that next certification.
Yeah, well, I've been using SAP Learning resources for many, many years, and this looks and feels incredibly different. How did you get there?
The simple answer is we just listened and we iterated. In the past, I think we have always had the problem of trying to tackle an incredibly complex portfolio. And this time, like I said, we took this clean sheet of paper and we said, what does digitally native learning look like? What is that delightful experience that we would all want to use? And let's rebuild for that environment. And I want to just give a big shout out and thank you to the colleagues across SAP who've contributed. It was an amazing team effort. And also, frankly, for the input we've gotten throughout this year. It's a no small secret that we've been involving the community, our mentors, customers through this journey, getting feedback and iterating as we go.
Well, I have to say, it definitely shows. So Stefan in the video mentioned that this was just the beginning. What can we expect in the coming year?
Yeah, absolutely. And Stefan is right. The reality is we've started with 7 BTP-related learning journeys. They're incredibly, incredibly deep and rich and get you ready for certification, but that's only the beginning of the developer and platform experience. And over the next year, we'll really be investing to bring more and more developer and platform-related content to learning.sap.com, iterating as we go as well. We know we want your feedback. We want to improve what we can. We want to invest more in where we can. And we also recognize that it's not just about the content. So in the next year and for all TechEd registrants, we're excited as well to let you know that you have 25% off certification attempts, because it's not just about learning and going through the content. It's also around validating those skills and demonstrating your knowledge and expertise in the ecosystem.
Okay, so there was one more announcement, definitely in Jürgen's keynote. Everybody picked that one up with the partner placement. And you know, I'm very curious about it. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the details, the partnership, and what the learners can get out of it.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about the placement partnership because whenever I go, and we mentioned that earlier in this session, and have those small group sessions, when I talk to individual developers, it's clear that people learn with SAP and they learn technology as professionals because they're trying to drive growth, whether that's personal growth, professional development. They're creating that career opportunity that is so important. And there is just this massive tailwind of opportunity in the SAP ecosystem. We run a program with NS2 where we train unemployed veterans, get them ready for certification, build their skills, and 99% of those unemployed veterans that go through the program with us get placed. In just the last 2 weeks, more than 40,000 jobs were posted in the US alone, just one country, for folks with SAP skills. And that just signals how much opportunity there is. But it's not always easy to navigate that career landscape. And SAP has worked tirelessly over the last year to simplify the learning experience. And we wanted to couple that with an investment in career growth and professional growth for those folks who enter our ecosystem and want to learn and grow with us. And that's why we're excited to partner with Placement. Placement offers career coaching, resume screening, LinkedIn screening services to help people navigate their job market. And they'll be specifically investing to make this easier for SAP ecosystem members, specifically for the first 1,000 learners who get certified through SAP TechEd. And the new learning site on BTP will give free services to them. And then for everyone who learns with us on SAP Learning through the next year, we'll give a discount as well to those who are interested in placement services. So I couldn't be more excited for it. I think, it is the perfect complement to a great learning experience is support in professional growth.
Yeah, so the learning and the career, this is like really going hand in hand. And it's definitely something a lot of the learners have on their mind. But how do you see it also from an employer perspective now if the learners all like skill themselves up and start searching for jobs? So how do you see that one?
As Jürgen mentioned, there is a big SAP skill shortage in general. We all benefit when we can hire the right people to come in and drive digital transformation. There's no CIO I've ever spoken with that says, finding great technical talent is an easy task. And so we really believe that by investing in the ecosystem, by putting the learner first, and by creating that rising tide of more SAP skills across the ecosystem, everyone will benefit. And when I talk to customers, when I talk to partners, they're excited about that message as well. Because the more folks who know SAP, who can leverage SAP, who can support all of the businesses that run on SAP and their transformation, the better off we're all for it.
Yeah, and it's definitely like also something, we see in the community, the more people we have, and that really drives the ecosystem, and that's all what we need to build out even further. Definitely one more question for you I have, or like two more questions, is like, what does it excite you mostly about TechEd and TechEd this year?
Anyone who knows me personally knows that for years I have been a big supporter and an advocate for SAP's low-code, no-code journey. I am incredibly excited about what Jürgen announced in the keynote, and the subsequent sessions are, I think, transformational for the SAP ecosystem. There are so many opportunities to build growth on the back of those processes that SAP maintains. And the more we can unlock that agility in all of our customer environments, the better off we'll be for it. So I would really encourage folks to check it out, to leverage the new tools, to play around in the Discovery Center, and to tune in wherever relevant, because I think low-code, no-code is a big unlock for our customer base.
Yeah, and I know there's also a learning journey on low-code, no-code in learning.sap.com. So this is really great. Like a lot of things are coming together for TechEd, for our audience, for the members out there. So it's great to see. One more thing from my side, like anything you see, like what is critical for the attendees to check out on TechEd?
I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't plug the learning resources and say, you know, check out the learning resources, check out the TechEd group on the community, make sure you participate and explore. And the reason I say that is because, you know, as Orla mentioned, this is a journey, right? This is absolutely a journey, but we believe, and I believe deeply, this is a journey worth going on. You know, SAP has hundreds of millions of users, hundreds of thousands of customers. We've grown 150% in the last decade. We've extended our reach and we continue to have that same aspiration, which means there is just enormous opportunity in front of everyone in our ecosystem. And I so much believe that there is just untapped potential if you learn with us, if you come, if you get started, and think it's so worthwhile to go on that journey and think it's never been better than it is exactly right now to get started. So I'm looking forward to folks jumping in, learning with us, getting engaged, entering the community, starting the conversation. It is just going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, I think this catch is very good. It's a wild ride. It's definitely a wild 2 days of TechEd coming up here. So we learned a lot. So thank you so much, Max, for joining us here to provide the overview. I'm totally excited, since I'm also from the learning team, to see how that all came together. So kudos to the team and for pulling it up. So thanks once more. And yeah, can't wait to see what's coming next. You guys are busy, I know that one in the background.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks
Max.
both. Thanks for having me.
Great, thank you, Max. Well, I'm definitely inspired. It's always hard to make time in your daily life to actually make time for training and learning, but it is so important. But that brings us to a really nice section we have, which is brand new to Channel 1 this year, and that is our student sessions. So we have some really bright students across all of SAP, and I was very lucky to meet with a few of them and discuss with them their learning journey across the last couple of years. But what about you, Thomas? How did you start at SAP?
Yeah, so this is also not a big secret, but I was a student who got hooked into SAP, and I should not give it away how long it was ago, but my professor basically came up to me and was like, you need to check out this SAP. SAP is coming, SAP is growing, SAP is the company you need to be and have it on your career. Then I looked at SAP, I looked at the system, I was like, not so sure. And then the big aha moment for me was when I got introduced to a customer, and the customer showed me how they drive supply chain, how they drive the order management. And the first job I did for the customer was basically to write an integration to have in their stores an automatically system putting in orders into the SAP system. RFCs, everybody out there knows them. Like for the folks who work longer with SAP, that was where I started as a student, and I was hooked from that day on and continued. And yeah, that's my career.
Excellent. There you go. And now you're working in learning, so that came full circle. So with that, we're going to introduce our very first student, which is Dhruv Agarwal, who I had the chance to speak to. Dhruv has had a really interesting journey. He's been in so many departments in such a short space of time and found many ways to upskill himself. So let's hear from him.
Millions of years ago, there was stone and water, wonderful trees, and breathtaking landscapes. And this little fella, this is a unicellular, the ancestor of every living organism on Earth. Okay, let's start again. And this is Günther. He and his generation built the world we know today, the land of milk and honey, based on the mother of all codes, ABAP. It was all well prepared for future generations. people like Kim.
It's not only about making more money.
Progress is very, very important.
Definitely quite a curious mind.
Change, innovation.
These young people found new sources of knowledge.
Google for sure.
YouTube.
And new languages.
Python, JavaScript,
HTML.
But what about ABAP?
Let's take the best of both worlds and bring them together.
Okay, die Aufzeichnung läuft. 3, 2, 1, meins. Sorry, ich hatte hier auf stumm, weil ich euch die Ohren weggenießt hätte.
Ich wollte kurz eine doofe Frage stellen.
Na gut, wenn es so geht. Ich habe dessen weiße Haare.
Vielleicht kommt das jetzt ins Intro so.
Hi everybody, I'm Rui and with me today I have Sarah Fuchs and Janina Hört. They are students here at SAP and I would like to learn more about their experience in the past and would actually already come up with my first questions towards Sarah and Janina. When and how did you actually start at SAP?
So I actually started only 5 months ago, so I'm quite new to the SAP universe. And I started out and still am part of the comms and marketing team of the T&I board area.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yes, I started around about 2 years ago at SAP, but since I'm studying psychology, I started in HR. But after about half a year there, I wanted to get to know what SAP is actually doing. And so I started at T&I Comms and Marketing, where I am still happily staying. What about you, Rui? When and where did you start at SAP?
Wow, when did I start? It was 2005, already 16 years ago, I guess. So that's quite a long time. Yeah, and had various positions there. So I started with contracts around the Java specification requirements, for those of you who know, from the company Sun, and was working a lot with colleagues from legal and went over to events, developers, and now in the business technology platform for quite some time.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. So it was unexpected that you asked me something, so that's good. So did you actually had any prior experience on any other cloud platforms before you started with SAP, Janina?
No, I have to say I had no prior experience at all. I could have told you how different regions in the brain are called, but I had no idea at all what cloud platforms are about, what SAP strategy is about developing or anything related. So I really had to get to know the concept of all of this from scratch.
And you, Sarah?
I was actually working at a software company beforehand, so I kind of knew about like cloud platforms, but still the SAP BTP is quite unique, so it takes some time to get to know all its functions and advantages.
So Sarah, so if you're speaking like that, so how did you picture the SAP Business Technology platform at the beginning when you started with SAP?
I kind of thought of it as like a platform or more like a plate where you have all the solutions laying upon it, but not being connected to each other. It wasn't until I did a open SAP course, which is called BTP in a nutshell, that actually my colleague here co-created. And that's where I found out noticed that you actually have to picture it more like an environment with a lot of applications and solutions that are connected to each other or can be connected to each other, and businesses can even build upon those.
Wow, so Janina, you were already an open SAP instructor. So that's interesting to know. So what were your first questions regarding the business technology platform from SAP? I mean, if you're doing an open SAP course as an instructor, that might be a quite heavy lift at the beginning, right?
Yeah, of course, it was a great opportunity and a great experience, and I'm very happy that I got the chance to do it. But to be honest, at the beginning when I started in this team, I had kind of no idea. So my first question also really was, what is this SAP BTP? What is it doing? What is it about? But I was lucky enough to have a lot of wonderful colleagues, which answered always and every question I ever answered. And that was quite a big help. And I can say there were a lot of questions. And finally, one of my colleagues explained SAP BTP to me as a city and explained how all the different functions and components play into the big picture, and that everything works in the end together. And yeah, that helped me a lot.
Asking Sarah, so we've already heard from you that you went through the OpenSAP course from Janina around the business technology platform. What else did you actually use on your side to actually read more and learn more about the SAP business technology platform? What helped you really in getting to know the platform? Can you share from your experience?
So I think the first thing I did when I started out at SAP was like hitting the BTP website. So I was looking there to get an overview, to learn about like different functions and everything. And what also helped me a lot, because I'm kind of a visual type person, or more or less, I need always an example for something. And the SAP BTP is quite abstract. So I really was happy to find like the customer stories on our website. So I was actually looking into these, and reading the stories really helped me to picture it like in a better way, or getting to know it better, and actually understanding what businesses can do with it. And I can really recommend it to anyone who likes to read stories about like actual business cases. It's really great.
So a quick test question. What is the link to the BTP webpage?
A sub-page to the sap.com. I think if you type in sap.com/BTP, you should get there. Or you can also, I think there's like also longer term, but yeah, BTP should be fine.
Yeah, thanks. That's right. So really, what you're saying is that it also helped you to understand what the business technology platform is also used for from SAP's customers, so that you have a better feeling what is this tool set which is available.
Yeah, there was actually like this one customer story about the Berlin's Charité. I don't know if you've heard of like it, but it was really nice to read about that. It's not only about making more money or whatever, but also like improving the world, making the world a better place. So I really like that story for an example.
Yeah, thanks. How about you, Nina? So what did you learn first, and what helped you really to get to know the platform better, besides the OpenSAP course that you did?
Yes, of course, the OpenSAP course was kind of a great deep dive, but I had a wonderful team and a wonderful project team that was co-working with me, and wonderful speakers, so that was really a great work, and I would recommend this course to everyone. But when I started, first of all, I started with reading the strategy paper, I think, but I have to say that I quickly backtracked there, because it was too confusing in the beginning for me as a total newbie. So I really started to understand the concept around SAP BTP with asking questions and going through already asked ones, for example, why the community. I also listened to old community calls and looked at blog posts that helped me a lot. And then I used all of these information to kind of navigate through the strategy paper, and step by step I got deeper and deeper into the content.
Yeah, thanks, Anila. So, Sarah, what would be your recommendation for anyone who wants to learn more about the SAP Business Technology Platform?
I think when really starting out with it, I think it's always the best idea to start with the BTP website, because you really get a good overview. But if you want to dig deeper, I think the OpenSAP course is great. The BTP in a nutshell course, I really love that one, so I'm a big fan. But yeah, if you need more examples, for example, like I said, the customer stories are great to read. And apart from that, what Nina already mentioned is the SAP community. So there are a lot of blog posts, and also like already ask questions that you can read through, and if you have a specific question, you can always ask, and the community members are happy to help or guide you to whatever blog article that might already be about that topic. So that's really great. Okay,
cool. So I think also another good resource specifically for developers, also students who might be studying development or software development, is always developers.sap.com. So that's a good way also to start as a techie. Or you go to github.com, where you also have lots of SAP projects there that you can look into. And I think before closing, because you gave us really some good insights about your experience with the business technology platform, I would like to get to know at least one fun fact from you, Sarah and Janina, about yourself. It can be work-related, it doesn't have to be. And to make it easier for you, I will start and then it's on you. So one thing that you might not know about me, I'm older than the internet. So I was born before the internet was there. And I was even born before SAP was founded, which is quite a long time ago. Not much, but still I'm older than SAP.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel great, kind of, because I learned so much at SAP, and I'm so happy that I had such a big portion of my life already within SAP. Because I think one thing that is that you also mentioned beforehand, a pattern, which is that you help each other at SAP a lot. Not only within SAP, we also talk to customers, to partners, to other people who share the same passion like us about technology. I think this is something which I really love with SAP, that people help each other, and we have more than 100,000 friends all over the world who actually help us with our questions. So and challenges and issues and projects that we have. So that's a great thing, right? And my age, let's say, it's always like you feel, I was told. I assume that's kind of right, but I would rather like to be 30 now or 25.
Well, maybe then you would have less experience. I mean, it's always...
Yeah, but I think as long as you are curious, the experience will come anyways. So, and that's also what I hear from both of you that are curious, that although you are students, that you already part of the SAP family, that you're going deeper into the topics. So which is fantastic, which is great. And I hope that you will stay with us along the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. One fun fact that you might not be aware of. Did you know that I did the second Open SAP course ever?
Before I started my bachelor's degree in psychology, I started a bachelor's degree in biology. Maybe that's an interesting fact around me. I can't play the old card. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to. No, thank you so much, Sarah, Janina, for taking the time talking with me, and for all of you listening in. Thank you so much, and see you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that wasn't in fact Drew's student session. We'll have him a little bit later. That was Sarah and Janina, and I think they taught us some really interesting insights. We also learned that Rui is older than SAP, so let's remember that one for a little while. But since then, we've been joined on stage. So who have we got, Thomas?
Well, we also want to look a little bit into the interactivity and how you can use it. And of course, there is something new available this year. That's the chat. And there's nobody better to explain it, to walk you through. And also, I'm curious what's coming up in the chat than the team who is hosting it. And that's the developer advocates. And I have Thomas Young here with me. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
This isn't at all confusing.
Yeah, so we have an internal thing. It's like he's Tom and I'm Thomas, so because we're on the same team. So what's coming up in the chat and how is it going?
Yeah, well, maybe just a little note on the availability of the chat, because it was available during the pre-hour, but then it was turned off on purpose during the executive keynote and the executive keynote Q&A. So all the questions that came in were more structured and can be structured and directed to the executives. But it's back on now, and we will continue to be on. That was all by design. And the team of developer advocates, particularly myself, Rich Heilman, DJ, Marius, and Vitaly, will be staffing that all throughout the rest of TechEd. So don't be alarmed by the fact that it went away for a little while. That was by design. But already in that first opening hour, we were seeing some good discussions forming in the chat. One that started on the difference between CAP, RAP, and an MTA. And so that it would live beyond the time of the chat, we already moved that over to the community discussion groups. And so if you missed that in the chat and you want to join in, you can go to the community discussion groups and the TechEd group, and you'll find that thread, and you can join in. One of the other most commonly asked things in the first hour was, where can you get the artwork for Casimir the cat? I don't know, is the cat sneaking around behind us right now? I don't know.
Casimir.
But a lot of people want to download Casimir the cat artwork, which we have available also in the community discussion forums. And we've posted that link maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 times in the first hour of the chat. So lots of people interested in that. And then lots of questions about the availability of the session content. Are the sessions available for replay? Yes, on the platform and in social media, they'll be available for replay. And can I download the materials for a particular lecture or hands-on session? And yes, if you go to the agenda builder, you'll be able to get a link to download those materials as well. So those were the most common questions. The other thing we saw a lot that was very exciting in the first hour in particular, everybody was kind of welcoming each other and talking about where they're from. You know, and several of us that were staffing the chat, we were seeing people from our hometowns or the states that we lived in. And it was nice to interact with people and say, oh, hey, you know, we're away from home, but it's nice to see somebody from our hometown in the chat. So there was a lot of that. In fact, it was going so fast in the beginning, it was really kind of hard to read. It was scrolling so fast.
Yeah. Now, I had a look in the beginning as well, and it was like, okay, I hope they can keep up with the pace in there. So definitely, the chat is keeping you guys busy. So that's also the message out there. If you have questions, or you know now a little bit like who is behind it, they also know all the content. And they can also direct you. And as Thomas pointed out, we want to push some of the communications over into the community because that's where they live on. So you can look it up later on. So it's great. So definitely check back with you. And to everybody out there, keep the developer advocates busy. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So we know, as Tom just mentioned earlier, there are people be watching us from all over the world. So we're going to be dropping in them from time to time to see what content they're watching, see what they're enjoying, and see what kind of topics they want to hear more about. So with that, we're going to have our very first remote check-in, and we welcome Mimiki. Hi, Mimiki.
Hi, Ola. Hi, Thomas. I'm very happy to be here. We'll be starting off our remote check-in with Leonardo, checking in from Montreal, Canada. He was also one of our remote check-in speakers last year, so welcome, Leonardo.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So how's your TechEd experience going so far with the executive keynote?
It went quite well. I like the announcements on the embedded steampunk. It's something that we've been looking for a while, and I think it's going to give us the opportunity to get customers to really adopt and protect the core even further, making development easier. So super happy with that. Also, the no-code, low-code focus was quite important, and I think it's going to touch a lot of people. So we're very excited to see how that develops.
Great, great. Now, I know that you were a part of the executive keynote last year. I mean, the remote check-in last year. How many TechEds have you attended so far, both virtual and on-site?
It's probably over 15. Yeah, I started in 2007, and I haven't missed one in North America since. And I've had a chance to go also to Europe quite a few times. So, yeah, do the math.
That is awesome. That is awesome. As you represent the small and mid-sized business, what do you think this community is looking for TechEd?
I'm glad you asked that because we don't talk much about the small and mid-sized companies, but we work a lot with them. We represent them, and a lot of our customers are in that segment. And at least our customer base, they have the privilege of being running the latest. They are largely S4 customers, running, if not the latest or very close, very recent S4 versions. So they are more prone to adopt easier what SAP is putting forward. BTP developments, or is embedded steampunk that applies to S4HANA Cloud customers, but it's going to eventually, I guess, come to on-prem as well. So these are lower hanging fruit for our customer base, and that's super exciting. It's not doesn't look like a something that is a bit too far away. At least for our customer base, we can start talking about it right after the event and start guiding our customers and how to benefit from it.
Great, great. Now, what are some of the sessions that you're looking forward to within this next 46 hours?
The ABAP roadmap, it's always one that I do follow always because I have a background in that domain. I mentioned the ABAP steampunk. So it is in that, and of course that is centered to my interest. But what we haven't talked much about, and I think it's very key to the TechEd and to the customer base in general, is migrations, right? Yep. A lot of customers are still not running S4. So sessions specifically on how we can help customers, what is new to help customers transition is going to be to my attention.
Awesome, awesome. Now, let's maybe get into like softer questions. I want to know, just very curious, if you had 25 hours a day, what would you spend the extra day doing? Just out of curiosity.
That would be a very easy answer. This extra hour will go to sleep because it's so crazy how these days go.
Yeah.
And with remote work, we are just working crazy hours, and the things looks like everything is faster these days. So having an extra hour, I would probably sleep a little bit more. I'm lacking on that.
Well, I'm definitely there with you on that. So what are some of the key things that you took away from the keynote?
In addition to what I mentioned, there is the SAP Learning journeys. I want to reinforce that because SAP put forward so much content in the last years, and there's community content, there are open SAP courses, there are so much out there. And it's true what people are saying. Everybody has the opportunity to get into SAP now.
Yep.
It's just a matter of putting a little bit of effort, be open and interest. But the problem with that is that so much content led to a little bit of confusion. Where do I go? Where do I start? And these learning journeys are addressing that largely. You're getting a more track fit to one person, to one persona. How do I get what I need to go? So we are getting new people in SAP in our company. We are going to definitely look at the SAP learning journeys and try to push that as the way to get people started. And then we can focus on specific developments in areas that are required. But as a starting point, I think answers a very pressing question.
Absolutely. The SAP Learning Journey has been such a success for anyone who's trying to get into the SAP ecosystem, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Leonardo, for joining in with our remote check-in once again. It's really great to have you here, and stay tuned for the rest of the sessions.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Miki.
Thank you. We'll check right back in again for a few more remote check-ins, so stay tuned for that.
Looking forward to it.
Now, it's great to have like all these remote check-ins and get the different voices from around the world. Like we did this last year already, and so it's great. Like it's sometimes like it's also the people we haven't had a chance to connect and see in maybe the last years. So it's great to have this here. So there is, of course, much more going on in Channel 1. And I think we are now 4 or 5 minutes away from like opening up also the sessions. I think like a lot of you are already like in the starts and like, okay, when is it happening? It's in 5 minutes. The sessions are also opening up. And use the opportunity. So the Channel 1 is basically our ongoing live streaming. And then you also have the sessions. And so if you find something really, really interesting in the session, I encourage you definitely go over. But also like if you want to get some overviews, more strategy, see what other people are thinking, that's the information you can find in Channel 1. So it's kind of like the yin-yang between the Channel 1 and the sessions. So check it out, how it all nicely works together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see our content tracks full of sessions that you can attend. But in Channel 1, we will have focused hours where we will go through strategy, we will have customers and partners, we'll have demos, and most importantly, at the end of every session, it is your chance to ask the questions. So please remember to register to get your voice heard.
Yeah, so also like the big thing, as you just have seen with the remote sessions, there's also the outside perspective. An outside perspective is coming from experts and also from the community. So we pinged a lot of folks throughout the creation of TechEd. If, like, on the one hand, what you have seen, the recommendation on the sessions, what would you watch? Also, but then to what is it like you're talking about? Like, what do you want to share with other community members? And that's, for example, what we bring in with the community talks. So that's really the emphasis for us, that we are not only bringing the stuff forward, what is important around SAP, but also bringing forward the voices and the opinions and the ideas of the external community members in the community talks. And last but not least, we also want to have some fun. You don't want to watch 48 hours, just lectures, business, abbreviations, BTP and ABAP and also and so on. They also bring in some fun elements, and that's really nice. So there's a few things coming up later throughout the day, and please check into them. One thing, and it's just a little bit of spoiler alert, we have like do-it-yourself videos and instructions coming in. I had to look at it because I had to know what I need to moderate on it, and then I started finding myself like an hour later checking into the YouTube, and I was like, oh, I know this guy because I once looked up what he's building. So this is a lot of like the things on like these things to get and to get out from TechEd. Yeah, and with that, we are already at the last first hour, so there's 45 hours to go, and yeah, wish you all the best.